ready? So this lesson for Epic is all about the story of The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle, and I'm sure lots of you will know this story really, really well. But the way that we're going to write this story is going to be a little bit different. Because you're a bit older, we're going to make it an even more exciting story than it already is, so we're going to improve it. Okay? And the first thing we're going to look at is this picture here. And you'll see on the side it's got some numbers, and it starts off at +10, and it's got a very big smiley face at the top. And then right down at the bottom it goes to -10 and a really sad face at the bottom. And this is what we're going to use to help us plan our stories, and you can use this to plan your own stories. So we're going to have this little character in the middle, and that's the hungry caterpillar. And at each point in the story, each plot point, and in this story there are 6 plot points, we're going to think about how the hungry caterpillar is feeling. So is he feeling really, really happy, right up at +10 at some points, and then some points he might be feeling a bit sad. And maybe if you know the story well, you'll know when he feels a bit sad because he's eaten too much. Okay, so we're going to go through each of the plot points, and each lesson is going to be on one plot point. So today's lesson is all about plot point number 1, and then the next lesson will be about plot point number 2, and so on. And within each plot point, I'm going to teach you and model to you 3 sentences. So each lesson you only have to write 3 sentences. Of course, you can always write more. If you're really excited about writing and love to write, maybe want to be an author when you grow up, you might like to write more. The only rule I have is if you are going to write more, I don't want you to plot push. I want you to stay within that plot point. So for example, if the plot point is all about the egg on the leaf, I don't want you to write sentences about that egg hatching because we haven't got to that point yet. I want you to just think about that plot point, and you can maybe write more about maybe what the egg looks like or what they can hear in the sky or something like that. But as a minimum, we're just going to write 3 sentences for each plot point. So today is all about plot point number 1. So plot point number 1 is that first page where it's got the moon and the leaf with a little egg on the leaf. And I've decided that the hungry caterpillar is probably feeling about +3, +4, pretty happy. It's not ecstatic, it's not like it's its birthday and it's really excited, or going to a roller coaster or something like that. It's not right up there, but he's quite happy, sitting on his leaf, feeling quite good about that. And here are the 3 sentences we're going to write. We're going to write, the first sentence is going to be a noticing sentence. So that means we're going to think about what we can see. The second sentence is going to be going to have some onomatopoeias in it, and I'll explain what that is if you've forgotten in a moment. And then the third sentence is going to be an inner thought sentence, what the caterpillar might be thinking. So let's start with sentence 1. So sentence 1 is a noticing sentence. What do we notice? So it's going to be the first sentence of our story. So first of all, to help us think about this noticing sentence, we're going to think about the things that we can see. So have a look at the picture. I'm sure you can see what I can see, and first thing I notice is the moon. We can see the moon. What else can we see? Well, we can see a leaf. And then what else can we see? Oh, that very important but very small egg. So we've got 3 things that we can see. Now, we could write a sentence that says, in the light of the moon, there was an egg on a leaf. But let's make it a bit more exciting. Let's think of some adjectives to describe each of these 3 things. Now, while you're watching this video, you could have a piece of paper in front of you and you can be jotting down some adjectives and some ideas of how you could describe a moon, a leaf and an egg. You can listen to my ideas and you can steal any of my ideas, or maybe you'll come up with your own ideas. So let's start off with the moon. So what adjectives could describe the moon? You could say it's a full moon, because it is a nice big full moon. It's a bright moon as well. What else might we say? You could say it's a glorious moon. Glory, or glorious, glorious moon. Or maybe a dazzling moon. You might have come up with more words than me, but here are some of my ideas. Now the leaf. And the leaf is holding the egg, isn't it? So it has to be very flat to hold that egg. Also needs to be really stable. Stable means it's not going to move around very much. It has to be very stable and very still. You can maybe put still as well to make sure that that egg doesn't fall off. It could be a smooth leaf. Or maybe you decide that your leaf is a bumpy leaf, or a rough leaf, maybe. Maybe it's a familiar leaf, because the egg knows about this leaf. It's been sat on there for a little while. So it's familiar, like your house is familiar or your home is familiar. And now the egg. How can we describe the egg? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is it's tiny. Tiny egg. It's also a fragile egg. And fragile means that it will break quite easily. So you could say it's a fragile egg. It's also a perfect egg. It doesn't have any cracks in it at the moment. It's just a perfect, tiny, fragile, luminous egg. Luminous means that it's sort of lit up by the moon. Luminous. Okay, got our ideas, got our adjectives down. So now we can start thinking about our sentence. So I'm going to model a sentence, and you can watch me modelling it. And then I'd like you to pause this video and have a go at writing your own sentence using your own adjectives. So you can take the same structure of the sentence, the same way I begin it and the same way I end it, but just change those adjectives so it turns it into your own sentence. So here's my sentence. I'll write it up here. In the light of the glorious moon, O-U-S, glorious moon. Oh, I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to say in the dazzling light of the glorious moon. Dazzling, dazzling. There we go, dazzling light of the glorious moon. Glorious moon, comma. So I've described the moon and now I'm going to put a comma. There was, or a tiny, comma, fragile egg lay on a flat leaf. Full stop. In the dazzling light of the glorious moon, a tiny, fragile egg lay on a flat leaf. Okay, now we're on to our second sentence. Here we go, we've got close up on the egg there. We're going to think about some onomatopoeia words because the egg has now started to hatch. So what sounds might you hear? So we're going to think about some sounds you might hear when an egg is hatching. Have a think now, jot some ideas down, and I'm going to jot some ideas down, see whether you have thought of the same ones. So my ideas are maybe crack. You might hear a crack, maybe pop. Maybe rustle. Maybe a thud, especially if it comes out of the egg a bit clumsily. Thump. Crash. Okay, so some of those words you might think, actually that's not right for a little tiny egg hatching. Even though they are onomatopoeia words, they're not, you've got to pick the right one to suit what's happening. So if it's just a tiny little egg, I think crash. It's too loud, it's too big a sound, so I'm not going to use that one. Thump. I don't think that's the sound of an egg hatching really. It is a sound, but it's not quite right. Crack works. Crack, I think, works, so you can sort of hear it crack. And pop, I think, is nice as well. It's just a little sound, isn't it? Pop. It could be rustling in the egg there, but thud, I think, is just too noisy. So they're my 3 favourite onomatopoeia words. You might have thought of some other ones as well. So, here is my next sentence. I'm going to write it underneath my first sentence. And I'm going to start with suddenly. You might decide a different word to start with, maybe eventually or afterwards or something like that. Suddenly, comma, the egg started to. The egg started to rustle and then I'm going to use 3 dots, which is called an ellipsis. 1, 2, 3. So I've used rustle, and now I'm going to use one of my other onomatopoeia words to describe him actually coming out of the egg. Started to rustle, and I'm going to use pop. I'm actually going to put it in capital letters to show that it's a big sound and it's something exciting. Pop! And I might put an exclamation mark as well. Pop! Out came, you can copy this second part, out came what came out? Tiny caterpillar. Full stop. Always remember your full stops. Suddenly, the egg started to rustle and pop! Out came a tiny caterpillar. Okay, we're on to the third and final sentence of this lesson. And this lesson is going to be thinking about his inner thoughts. What is the caterpillar thinking? There's my caterpillar. There we go. He's a little tiny caterpillar. So what could he be thinking? So maybe have a think about his thoughts. Maybe if you know the story, what's his first thought? As soon as he's hatched out of that egg, what does he think? I wonder whether you've got it. He's very, very hungry, isn't he? So, what might he be thinking? So maybe you could draw a little caterpillar with a thought bubble like mine and put in what you might be thinking, what you think the caterpillar would have been thinking. So this is my idea. My idea is, I'm so hungry. So hungry. So I'm going to find some food. Find some food. So that's my thought. Now I'm going to show you how to put it into a sentence. Okay, so because it's a thought, even though he's not saying anything, it still needs speech marks to show that it's his thought that he's having. And instead of just saying, the caterpillar thought, I'm so hungry, so I'm going to find some food, we're going to try and make it sound just a tiny bit more exciting and just change the order of the words a little bit. So in this thought, we're going to think about where that conjunction is in the middle. And for me, it's this so here. Because I've got two parts to my thought. One part is, I'm so hungry. And the other part is, I'm going to find some food. So try and make sure that your thoughts, you've either thought of two different thoughts that you can maybe put together, or make sure it's a long enough thought, like mine, that it's got a conjunction in the middle so you can split it into two. And this is how we're going to write our sentence. I'm going to think about sentence starter, and in this picture it shows the sun rising. So I'm going to start off my sentence with, the sun began to rise. And you can take that as well. The sun began to rise, comma, because that's the beginning of my sentence. Now I'm going to do my first thought, which is, I'm so hungry. So after my comma I need a speech marks, which is like a 66, and then write it in. I'm so hungry. And then I'm going to put a comma at the end of my first thought, and then I'm going to close my speech marks, which is like a backwards 66. So the sun began to rise, comma, I'm so hungry. Then instead of my conjunction, I'm going to put he thought. So I'm putting that in the middle instead of at the end. I'm so hungry, he thought. And now I'm going to put another comma and do the second part of my thought. So at 66 again, I'm going to find some food. I'm going to find some food. Oh, my pen's starting to run out. I hope you can still see it. Full stop, and then backwards 66. The sun began to rise. I'm so hungry, he thought. I'm going to find some food. So now we have our 3 sentences for this lesson, and hopefully you will have your 3 sentences as well. So once you've written them, take a photo and send them to me on Seesaw.